Did.
Hey guys, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I think we are waiting for Kurt, and just give her like a minute, then we can get started. I think Kurt is here. Kurt, good morning.
Hello, Kenan. Would you like me to share my screen?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see that.
I see folks are still joining. I think we can probably get started. Just 3 minutes past.
And I have posted the Etherpad link. And yeah, see, good. Looks like everybody's able to get to that. Okay, Kenan, would you like to call the meeting to order?
Sorry, Kurt, I could not hear you. Sorry, what's the question?
Oh, I was just saying if you'd like to ask if you'd like to call the meeting to order. Shall we
Yeah,
get
please
started?
go ahead. Actually, I think we can go to the agenda slide and quickly review the agenda. Then we can forward.
Sounds good. That's it. Okay. So yes, just a reminder that the antitrust policy applies to all meetings of the Linux Foundation. If you have any questions on that policy, please reach out to us or contact your legal counsel. Meeting information we know about, Etherpad, I posted that in the chat. Please jump on and help me take minutes and record attendance. So here's the agenda. I've discussed the antitrust policy. We'll discuss minutes and action items. I can bring everybody up to date on where we are with the infrastructure migration. We'll have SIG status. Kenan will discuss events, and then we'll have question and answer. Any questions on the agenda? No? So let's see if we can establish a quorum for voting on minutes. And let's see here. Let me just do a roll call. That works best, I guess. So let's start up here to Wind River. Do we have Ben? I don't see Ben. Okay, let's see. Nokia, we do have Timo. Is that correct? Yes. And Deutsche, do we have Bernard? I don't see Bernard. Vodafone, Vivian or Ricardo? No. Equinix, Oleg or Trishan? I don't see. Intel, Sundar? No. Fabrizio, Tim? No. Erickson, Sandra or Peter? Nope. Let's see, Casa, do we have Eric? Eric, we do, yes. Okay, and Jane from Monitor? Jane, no. We do have Mark from Bell. Sonnet, are you here for TELS? I don't see Sonnet. And Sandeep. Oh, and Orange, Eric. Yes. Okay, and VMware. No. Padma. No, doesn't look like it. Yeah, so it doesn't look like we're going to have quorum this time.
Hi everyone, this is Fabrizio, just joined from team.
Oh, okay. I don't think that, I still don't think that's enough. Let me see here. 1, 2,
Gene Bagwell from Horizons here as well.
4, 5.
Yeah, hi, this is Seshu from Wind River.
Sorry, who was that?
Seshu from Wind River. Binyang actually wanted me to represent here. I'm not sure if we require to send a mail or something. I'm not sure of the process.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we still don't. Yeah, so we still don't have a quorum. That's fine.
Yeah.
Did you count Verizon?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Eric for Rogers. So I'm saying.
6, 7. Yeah, we're still 3 or 4 short. Okay. So we will table approval of minutes for now. We may have quorum later. I'll keep an eye on it. So action items. This was, let's see, I'm reminding myself. Oh yeah, this the registration checkbox for attending members and also being able to gather information on those members. That is possible. And I believe Canon, I believe you've received that information. Is that correct?
Yes, I think I will talk about that a little bit when we go to the summit itself.
Okay, sure. Then infrastructure status. I want to bring everybody up to date. All the groups.io mail list migration is complete. All of the committees have been set up. It is possible, I wanted to point this out I think there was a question a couple of meetings ago about whether the committees will be able to set up a calendar, and that is possible in groups.io. I have enabled that functionality. So those are ready to go. And we can discuss that later in SIGs, I guess. Let's see, meetings. I have not had a chance to schedule the SIG meetings in LFX yet. That is right at the top of my list. So I'm hoping to get to that. It'll definitely be done this week. Any questions on infrastructure migration?
Yes, I have one. So
Sure.
in the past, we discussed, right now, there's no access for anybody other than LF employees to schedule meetings. And do we have any feedback from the LF on whether that's a feature they'll look at? Because it seems like that could be a bit of an issue. From a,
I agree, it's inconvenient. Yeah, so this I've actually brought this forward on behalf of several projects that I'm managing. The ability to set up some permission level that would allow leads to be able to go in and schedule meetings for their SIGs or for their committees as they see fit. That is definite requirement. I have, like I said, I've taken that forward on several different projects. I will reiterate that it's needed here as well. As far as, I mean, I agree it is an inconvenience, but it is not impossible. Just please feel free to email me with any meeting requests. I think my apologies for not getting the SIG meeting set up. I think that's probably part of that frustration. And you should be able to just go in and create the meetings yourself. I completely understand that.
yeah.
So yeah, those will get created. Like I said, immediately. And any other meetings that need to be set up or impromptu meetings that need to be set up, just let me know. I'll schedule them.
Yok o bir bisküvi verdin ya bugün bana neydi o?
I think somebody needs to go on mute.
Yeah.
I think Selka.
Let me see if I can
That's
mute.
better, thank you. Okay, thank you, Kurt. Yeah, I just want to make sure, and I just want to confirm again. So if the mailing lists are set up now, then that means we can shut down membership to the Google Group ones, and people, when they join the list.nephio.io group or group, will automatically be sent an invitation to the meetings once they're set up. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. They
you.
should be able to, yeah, same process. Once they get the invitation, they click through the registration and then they'll get an individual invite.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Great. So I think we're on to SIG updates now.
Yeah, so let's go with the SIG updates and any updates from the SIG architecture group. Kaushik or Sana, can you please provide an update? I think Sana is not on the call. Kaushik, you are.
Yeah, hey folks, I've joined in as Kandan, but high level, one of the key things that we're trying to focus on is coming up with the requirements and user stories for the first release of Nephio, which is targeted for early next year. So what we have done is we have requested from the cigar community what they think, especially from the telcos, what they believe should be the key products, product user journeys. So that exercise has been completed as of last week. We are now curating those requirements and coming up with a consolidated set of user stories that map to those requirements. So that work has been mostly done. We'll present it to the group next week. But high level, there is good traction in terms of finalizing the product scope, user journeys, and we are now starting. Some of us have started to take a stab at also defining the network architecture to map to that product scope. Which we hope to get to the group in the next few weeks. In addition, we have also started the cross-SIG group discussions to help iron out a roadmap to that we can publish to all the communities about what we think would be the reasonable timelines to and subsequent milestones to intermediate milestones to to get to release Viva. So overall, good progress. Thank you, community, for your contributions and valuable inputs, and we look forward to continued collaboration.
Thank you, Kaushik. I appreciate it. Any question before we move to the SIG automation group? Okay, so with that, SIG automation group, please provide your update, John or Tom.
Yeah, I can jump in. So we, first of all, the important thing, we've moved to weekly meetings, and we're really accelerating towards a November demo and really trying to focus on that. So on the one hand, we accepted 3 proposals so far for a list of components, concrete components that we would work on. But we're careful to remind everyone that because we're so laser focused on demoing something in a month, we are not going to make final decisions right now for a list of components. We're trying to decide what we can actually target for a demo. So we're keeping both thoughts in our mind at the same time. A final list of components for a 1.0 release, and meanwhile a list of a smaller list of components that we can actually deliver in a month. And I think that's it. And we have a bunch of POCs coming up in the next 2 weeks. And anything else, John?
No, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think there is a question. Charles, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So one question on the POC and the components in it. I would hope that there's some relationship inconsistency between that POC and release 1 that the NetArc team is discussing. I mean, obviously some of us are involved in both SIG, so, but I've missed the last few meetings. So is that being taken care of?
Yes,
I think we're in
effectively
relatively
what-
good shape for that.
Yeah, basically what, Kaushik shared a draft of the user stories he was talking about earlier with the community quite some time ago, and we've just been sort of executing as if that's the final because we figure it's going to be close enough. And so, yes, absolutely, the things are being done in concert, in coordination.
Fantastic, thanks.
In fact, I'll just quickly update John to your point. We have curated the user stories that we had shared about a month ago with the community based on the latest inputs and requirements received from the community. So your input has been taken into consideration. We will publish the updated user stories latest by end of the week.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. So with that, let's go to the SIG release. Stephen or Tina?
Yeah, so I guess Tina's not here. So most of the things were actually on organizing the directories, so the POCs can go in. I'm still working on that. And then also at the same time, we also want to put PROW in place for CI/CD. So hopefully I'll get that done over the weekend. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Any question before we move to the next agenda item? All right, so let's go to the next agenda item, please. So this is a quick update about our co-hosted event that we discussed on the last few meetings as well. And this has been confirmed as we mentioned in the last week. So feel free to look at the agenda that is on our wiki page. LF also created a landing page in the main conference website itself, and our co-hosted event is actually mentioned in that main page as well. And a couple of follow-ups for the community, and do not forget to actually register for the ONES summit itself, because that is needed for you to secure a spot in this. When you do the registration, please pick this particular co-located event so that we know the head count. And the other thing is Kurt, I think I'm not sure the people who are already registered, is there any way for them to go back and select this particular event, or that is not something needed? Do you know that?
I don't know. That seems like a perfectly valid request.
Generally, you can update your registration. I've done this with other LF events, and you can add co-related events to it. And if there's any charge associated with that then that gets added to your registration costs. But in this case, if it's a free event, I don't see that being a problem. So I've been able to update that with previous events. I haven't looked for ONES.
Okay, thank you. I think that's helpful, Charles. So Kurt, if you could actually confirm that with the marketing team, I would appreciate that, so that there's no confusion there, right? So, and I just want to point this out. We got a room for accommodating 50 people, so that's so it's really first come first served basis that we would have, but not the registration itself, but the people coming inside the room. So we would really request our team members to participate early so that everybody gets a seats there. The other thing I want to point out is that please look at the agenda, and there is an action item for the chair and vice chair to really create a set of slides, and then sort of provide the requirements to the update to the community, so that everybody is updated about the SIG group, because there may be some new people coming in and they would like to understand where we are and stuff. And this would also be helpful for the whole community that participating in this event to understand where the SIG groups are. So try to prepare a few slides where you can actually provide an update, and also call out a specific topics that you want to go deep dive. So I would appreciate if you could actually start the discussion within your group, and try to consolidate a few topics that we can actually use that time in the face-to-face meeting to trigger it. But again, I think the intention is to focus more in the release one, and getting the release one done. So the topics can be tuned towards the release one items. But again, I'm looking for SIG chair and vice chair to sort of like prepare this slide ahead of a time, at least a couple of weeks before the summit, so that it can be uploaded into the website, and people are very clear about what is going to be presented and what questions are expected, so that they can be prepared as well. Any question on this particular item? All right, so I think if there are no questions, I think we're super excited to host this event and looking forward to the team members.
And one question, sorry.
Go ahead, Balaji.
Yeah, so obviously we're expecting more than 50. Guess some of the SIGs call itself, we are very close to 40, 45. So if there are more than 50, would they be standing or would they not be allowed into the room? Is there any protocols?
Hey, I don't have any problem in standing, and I think, see, it's sort of inconvenience for people to standing as well. But
Yes,
we
yes.
can't really like avoid people coming in. So I think the only thing is like if it goes beyond 100 in a 50 people room, actually, I think that would be a trouble. So we could not secure more than 50 people room there because this is the largest room that they really have. So I think I will poke a Linux Foundation team as well. Maybe Kurt, you can actually check out is that, is there any way to get a little bit larger room, like a 75 people or 100 people accommodation room? That would be really great. But right now, this is a maximum that we are able to get. But we are not going to stop people coming in. And the other aspect is that this would be live streamed. And we are looking at the equipments sort of ready for this particular live stream, so that people if they could not be inside the room, and then pretty much they can tune into their laptop and listen in from any of the places that they can hang out in the conference. So that's another thing that about it. But again, I cannot guarantee a large room, but we will actually try to make this happen.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure.
Since we are also planning a workshop, the amount of people is also something we need to keep in mind. Probably we can discuss that on Slack. Thank you.
That is right. Yeah. And I think
just one question.
Sorry, go ahead. There is a question.
So sorry to interrupt, but just one question from my side. Can we add anything to the agenda, or it is finalized, or it is only done by chairs or vice chairs?
So if you want to add anything to the agenda, please let me know, and we can discuss it, because right now, Scott, if you could actually open the agenda. Right now, it's very packed agenda in my opinion, but if there are any specific topic that need to be added, please feel free to send me an email or add as a command to the wiki page itself. Then
I'll send you an email first.
Sure.
You can see the topic and then we can add it to the agenda if it fits.
Sure, and I think we are trying to avoid any presentation mode of items in this particular stuff. Like if there's something like a point wise that you want to bring in, and I think we can actually definitely accommodate it. But if it is going to be a presentation for a few minutes, then there's nobody presenting it other than the SIG group, right? So this is not like the way we had it on the first developer summit where we invited people to talk. So this is more of a developer summit. So we don't have much room here. You can see the agenda, it's already packed in. And again, unfortunately, we were able to secure the room only from 11 a.m. So it is not like we lost like a couple of hours in the morning. And that is the challenge that we have. So it really starts at 11 and we have to wrap it up by 5:30 p.m. And that's the situation we are. But the thing is, like, if there is some sort of a, overflow that we can unofficially meet on the second day, on the 17th, that is something we can do it as well. But this is the official agenda that we are looking at.
Okay, perfect, understood. And it's more related to focused on release one, I guess.
Yes, exactly. And feel free to bring your questions and feel free to suggest it. And I think this is, as a community, I think we all have to work together to make the release one successful. So any topics related to that in this particular order, please feel free to bring it in. And also please feel free to reach out to the SIG chair and vice chair if you have any specific topic to that area. And you can have a discussion in the SIG groups as well.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay. Sure. So let's go back to the agenda slide.
Yeah, Keldon, one other quick question, logistics on this. So we were talking about it in the chat, like if the chairs and SIG chairs and TSC chairs all have to also register for the co-located event, that's 7 people out of 50. That's like almost 20%, it's 14%. So do we need to register, or can we leave those openings for other people and just show up?
See, I think it's so I think let's wait for like how many registration comes up and then make a decision. So I think I don't want to over optimize at this moment. So let's wait for a couple of weeks and see, like how the registration goes. Once we reach like a week before the thing, like if it is more than 100 people registered, then I will see whether we can get a larger room with the Linux Foundation. But I think we can make a call like once we are closer to, because we still don't know the exact number. I'm pretty sure that it would be more than 50, but it's very hard to say that what is that number would be. So let's wait for like a week or so, John, and then we can figure that out.
And one more thing, is it possible for someone who's specifically focused on Nephio just to come to Nephio alone, or is it mandatory that they have to be part of the one conference registration?
Yeah, so I think the participation at the ONES conference is like optional, but registration is not optional. You still have to register for the main event and to get access to this particular event, because this is a co-located event. Again, this is not our Nephio community policy. This is more of that ONES Linux Foundation policy. So we cannot override that. So basically, you have to make a registration in the ONES. And like the way we said last time, like if you are a Linux Foundation member, not the Nephio member, the paid Linux Foundation member, then you do get actually 20% coupon. And if you have any speakers, or they probably got a coupon as well for full pass, right?
Okay.
But I think it's not really a lot of money actually from a main conference registration perspective. It should be, you can check it out on the website, but it is small token money that allows you to attend both the ONES conference as well as this particular co-hosted event.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also there's a typo. I see that first come first serve basis, not release. sorry for that typo.
Yeah, just wanted to add one more thing. It's a 2 days conference. I think it's around $1,250. I was also looking into it. Our Nephio talks is on November 16th. If you wanted, you could register only for 1 day. That will cut down the price by 50%. So that's also an option. If you could register for the entire conference for 2 days, or just register for 1 day.
That's a good point, Balaji. I think I appreciate that input.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the next slide. So Stephen is going to present a very, very early version of a free 5GC deployment. And this is going to be our base for workshop and demo in ONES. But I want to point out that this will be discussed further in the SIG group automation. And the SIG group automation team will make a decision on how this will be presented in ONES. So the form that is going to be presented today is not exactly going to be in the community, but we want to showcase like what's actually coming on from Google side, like a contribution perspective, so that the whole team can be aware of like this particular work that's going to be used in some of the demo as well as the workshop. And with that caveat, and I think Stephen, you can take a presentation rights and present the demo.
Okay, thank you. So let me present.
Actually, if it's okay, before the demo, we do have quorum now.
Okay.
So if we could just do that real quick and take care of that business. The minutes of the previous meeting were distributed prior to this meeting, and so I would ask, if there are no questions about the TSC minutes, prior meeting minutes, that we would get a motion to approve.
The only, sorry to interrupt, it's Ian at Vodafone here. The only question I was going to ask is, last night when I looked, I hadn't seen them, and I still haven't seen them. How were they distributed? Because I'm probably looking in the wrong place. Is it via email or somewhere else?
Yes, they were distributed to the Nephio TSC list.
By email?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think I have that, so I'm not going to object, but
Yeah, this is Gene Bagwell. I also didn't receive them.
Okay. Okay, I will take that as an action. Please.
I think they need to be part of the Nephio TSC list, right? So because I specifically subscribed for that, that's how I received it.
Oh, and so some people have received it?
Yeah, no, I do have. Yeah, we have received it, but I'm not part of the TSC.
Yeah,
but
I
do
received the
subscribe to
email as
TSC list,
well,
right?
and I'm not a voting member, and I received it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm
they
sure
need to be.
it's my fault. I'm sure it's my fault. Don't worry. I just didn't get them. So
No worries. So let me.
I thought I'd subscribe for everything. I'm holding the meeting up, and I don't mean to, but
No, this is an important question, actually. I mean, like, this is a community call. When there is a problem, we should call out and solve it, and don't hesitate to ask questions. So I think if you are not receiving the email, and I think Kurt put down the email address on the chat room, please send him an email so that he will make sure that your name is added.
Okay.
Or you can also add yourself in the.
I thought I had.
Yeah, so I think you can share the procedure as well for people to add themselves as well. List.nephio.org/groups.
I'm working on that. Almost there. Yeah. So yeah, that was a very good segue. This is okay. So I posted my email address in chat. If you're having trouble, receiving email or getting subscribed or whatever, please send me an email. I'll be happy to help.
Will do. Thank you, Kurt.
Or debug the problem. For those of you who have not subscribed, all you have to do is send an email to Nephio-TSC plus subscribe, and I've posted that in the chat. And you will. It doesn't matter the content of that email. Just send an email to that. It doesn't matter what it is, and it will reply to you with directions on how to join the list.
Done. Thank you.
Actually, this is probably something that we should put on the wiki as well. I will write up or make sure that there is a thorough process for subscription documented and posted on the wiki.
Yeah, just as a reminder, I think we have put all this information in the Slack general channel as well, and we have pinned that, like all the links to the different SIGs, TSC, how to join the CSC, etc.
Okay.
We put that in a general Slack channel and pinned it. So just as a reminder. Yeah.
Okay. We will table approval of minutes for this meeting and revisit it at the next meeting, where we will review both sets of meeting minutes. That way, everyone will have a chance to review. If the members who had not received it have to abstain, we no longer. Well, let's see. We still have a quorum. I'm open either way. We can table this until the next meeting, or vote on it now with 2 abstentions.
All right, so with that, let's go to the demo. So Stephen, you can take the presentation rights.
Okay, so I take it we're tabling this for the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that is fine. Let's table it.
We'll do that then. And I will stop sharing.
And you may have to resend the minutes again for people to sort of like see that again once they subscribe to it. Yeah,
I'll make sure that the minutes for this meeting and the prior meeting are sent again.
Sure. All right, so Stephen, back to you. And if you don't mind, like this picture, you probably have to put it in a little bit
Yeah,
bigger.
but then can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay, so
can you make everything a little bit bigger, the terminal fonts and the image?
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, once I get to the terminal, yes. So well, thank you TSC for having allowing me to have this couple of minutes to do this. I also actually I'm on schedule to do this in SIG2 next week. SIG2 meeting next week, so you can revisit this. We talk about something different, obviously, for different audiences. The idea behind the demo that I'm about to do is that, well, so you have some high-level intent that is deploying some sort of network functions that you want across different clusters. And then when you push that high-level intent, there's some controllers that would actually build on it. And then typically you fan out all those packages For a particular instance, usually you have two categories of packages. One of them is more for infrastructure resources or anything that it needs for cluster to be in that state before I can actually deploy the network functions, and things that are actually for the network functions configurations. So what we intend to do actually moving forward is that all these different controllers that we have from Nephio or from other places would be watching for the package states, if they have any conditions and dependencies, and it's pertaining to you. Let's say I want an IP address, and then something that manages IP address would kick in and say that, let me allocate one for you. And then so the goal is, it's easy to add more controllers or even add more packages as we go. And then at the end, it hydrated down. We use the word hydrate. That means it goes from something that's very abstract and not filled out to something that is what we call wet, which is at that point something that your target cluster would be able to accept. And you'll get a bunch of Go packages that would be related to resources, and a bunch of them that are related to something that would config related that would go into the edge clusters. The resource related things may actually go into either the management clusters. For example, if you want to add a node to a cluster for any capacity change reasons, or if you want to program the fabric, that may actually happen on the management cluster. So those packages get checked into the management cluster deployment repo. Whereas for things that are pertaining to this, let's say you're creating NADs, network attachment definitions, those get applied to the edge clusters, or you want to allocate isolated CPUs and things like that. That goes into edge clusters, and then they get fulfilled by the edge cluster. We can fix wicks them and take it up. This is there for doing dependencies. So
Stephen, can you enlarge the screen? It's very small.
The screen is actually already filled out. Is it not enlarged? Oh, interesting.
I'm not sure what you're showing is not visible properly. So if you could actually put it in a full screen of that picture, if you're talking through the picture, then we can understand what picture.
Okay, let me do like full screen without presentation. Is that better?
We don't see the presentation mode. We're just seeing all your terminals and the picture in a quarter the size of the screen.
Yeah, I think we're not seeing updates. I suggest you unpresent and present again. I've tried this.
Oh, interesting. Not a Zoom expert, obviously. Oh, okay, I see. Does that work?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so on this, well, it's the same picture, but then obviously it's a small picture at that time. Because I don't actually, as a presenter, I don't even see the what I'm sharing. It's a very small icon on the. Yeah, it's like something that Zoom is actually inferior to Google Meet, I guess, in this case. So this is actually managing dependencies. So like Kubernetes is a distributed system model. So any actors reacting to this resources would be generating new package resources, and then in any asynchronous way, and then we need something here to actually kind of enforce the dependencies. So that's actually the concept behind it. My demo is nowhere close to that because I have a lot of dependencies on, and John would know, a lot of dependencies on the Porch team to do various different things. But then, so this is the concept, and then I'll probably demo more for concept with a lot of caveats. But one thing that actually is something we want to propose is we are start proposing custom resource definitions. On this demo, there will be a number of them. So this is obviously not a CLD that I defined. So this is fine.
Stephen, I think the update stopped again. You might need to stop sharing again. Yeah, it's been frozen for quite a while. So if you've changed what you're showing, we're not seeing it.
This is interesting.
The first few times you flashed through slides, it worked, but then it just like froze.
Okay, so now the second one, you can see it, right? So this is the one with the CLDs?
Yeah, we see the one with the CLDs now.
Okay, good. So part of this is proposing some CLDs to the communities. So the high level things where the users would do, will as a community, we'll propose it. Right now I built something for demo purposes, because SIG1 would have to approve that at some point. The thing that we are highlighting actually in this case is the UPF related ones. in line with something that is, I guess, more recent ways of Kubernetes folks realizing the fact that when you're creating a resource, that resource potentially can address many different personas. There are different separation of concerns across. If you want to deploy a UPF from get-go, we already know that many different people would touch it. A network architect would define what a UPF category would look like, potentially even point to a particular vendor. And then the deployment engineers would be filling up the local informations like IP addresses, or even which block of IP address is supposed to use on a UPF. So this is modeling after I don't want to call it class claim, because only storage class uses class claim, but something more like Ingress class gateway being the big one that we actually kind of follow. They're using this kind of model where separation of concerns are being used, where different personas would be touching different objects. So in our case, we actually introduced a new one, which is the one that would actually go into the edge clusters. So as we show in the last picture, when you push it in a config, a lot of different controllers would come in and start filling up things on that package. But at the end, the controller, the network function controller that runs on edge cluster would need to have anything very, very well defined. So therefore, we have that one models where we will go through a transformations where all the IP address and everything's all resolved by the time it gets to the UPF deployment object. And that one goes to the edge clusters. It's expected to be processed by a network functions vendor specific operators, most likely on the edge clusters, because so far when we work with different vendors, most of them actually don't have operators, but then if they do, they are running on the target clusters. So with that, did that happen this time?
Nope.
So I switched to the next slide and it didn't happen again. So amazing. Okay. So you see what's the demo slide right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the demo looks something like our goal, but it's without a lot of controllers that we're waiting for various different upstream projects to actually come to get down. So right now I have as I said, demo purpose NF deployment high level intent. I use the cap functions to basically just split it off to two different YAML. So that basically is a representation of packages. And then because there's no fan out and there's no dependencies, there's no condition watching right now on the packages. So I would physically apply the resources, and then so that triggers the controllers to actually transform different packages, in which case you go through this the normal, for those who know actually, so John presented that a month or so ago. You go through the normal propose and approve process on the packages, and then they get pushed into deployment repos. Whereas at the end, you would see the FreeFileGC UPF running on the edge clusters. So that's the demo. Does that happen? Oh no, it doesn't.
No.
Okay. Wow. I mean, if I type things on there, if it goes like this, it's not going to happen. It's not going to be very good.
The whole screen's a mess.
Yeah. I wonder how to do this.
Now we see your terminals.
So can you see me typing stuff though?
We can, but it tends to freeze after a while. We'll see. Hopefully
Okay. Let's do it. Let's try to do it anyway. So first thing. So all these bigger screens that you see are the management clusters. So the management cluster is GKE. You can see from here, this is GKE cluster. So the management cluster, 3 nodes on the pool, and then one master nodes. This is the edge clusters. The edge cluster is a VM that runs on Google Cloud. It's running micro KLS, so very simple to bring up, and it's a 1 node cluster, and it has Multis. So I just did that actually earlier. So it has Multis already loaded. You also have to physically install the CNI binaries into /opt/CNI/bin. So those things you will have to do because we don't do that today as Nephio. And without further ado, so pretend that I'm now a network operator, not a network architect. So the first thing I do is I want to define a UPF class. You can define a lot of those if you want to, but we don't expect a lot of them. But then so I will publish that to the community in terms of what the CLD looks like. But then so what we expect, and then SIG1 would have to give us feedback whether that's true, is for a network architect, they would be classifying something like, oh, for UPF, you have this kind of throughput, uplink and downlink. And then you have this list of DNNs. And then optionally, which I didn't say, optionally, you would also be telling us the maximum of UEs that would be supported, by this UPF. So this is a class. And then you apply a class. So this now goes into the management cluster. So this is actually cluster scope. So any controllers that will run in any namespace would be able to read this particular resource. So once this is done, the next thing to do would be okay. So now I want to deploy. So I'm still a network architect. So I want to deploy. So this is, again, this is not official. This is just for demo purpose. So I want to deploy something to a particular site, to an array of sites. So I give them an ID, and then I would tell them that please deploy a UPF of vendor 35GC version 311 that takes this particular class onto this cluster, which is this cluster. And for that, so in a real thing, this would be a package. The package would be applied, and then controllers would actually react to this. For now, we haven't written any of those, so I just use a dummy cat functions to send it over. So now with this dummy, what you have is now remember this is the deployment name. So we have a directory structure of deployment name, the cluster name, and the instance ID. And in there, you would have two packages, so to speak. And obviously, it's time to start running the controller. And for two of them, one of them is your actual UPF definitions. In this case, the UPF is telling me that for N3, N4, N6, I have this set of endpoints. I do want to change that to endpoints where it points to a name resource instead of a physical IP address. But then I haven't written a controllers which would be translating the name into an actual, to allocate actual IP CIDR. So I would like to do that before November. And if any community member wants to join in, that'd be great. And we, again, in the real thing, not November, but then hopefully by V1, this would be automatically applied. This would still be applied by a user. So they would put in configuration informations, apply to users. But then the big difference would be controllers would then react to that package once they get checked in. And the second resource, so this is the config resource. The other resource is the it's a resource. It's my network function requirement resource. So for 35GC is very simple, and then for this generic cluster is very simple. All they need is NADs, so that they can actually annotate which NADs to consume and creates secondary interfaces on the pod. So in this case, what do you need for infrastructure? So this comes default by the package. So 35GC is the one that knows I use MAC VLAN. And then this should come from users. Users would come in and say that I want to map all those secondary interfaces to that physical interface on my nodes. So I'm guessing all your nodes should have the same interface naming. That may or may not be true, but again, this is for demo purposes. So for this CLDs, we can evolve or we can do something better. So this now gets applied. So in real things, you're basically approving this. So now what would happen is, this is my deployment repo. So what you can see is this generates two packages onto the deployment repos. So at this point, if you look into, so I have this is the target namespace that we're going to, as you can probably see from the CLD earlier.
I think it's maybe frozen again, Stephen.
Frozen again. So let's do it again.
So it was working for all that time, but
that's actually better than I expected. So let me type something. Can you see me doing namespace?
yes, now we can. But yeah. So we didn't see what you were showing in the deployment repo. It looks like
Okay, sorry. So earlier I was showing the NF network resource. Again, this is not something we
Yes,
are
we saw
proposing
that.
as
We
LD.
saw that.
Okay, so yeah, nothing much. So we show, I'm showing this. So this is a this is the target. This is the deployment repo. So right now in deployment repo, on proposal, those things are there. So let me approve them, load them in there first. But just to show you that there's no network definition at this point in the target cluster. So now we have to do the full process of approving.
If you're showing something, it's
no, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so now you see the packages. So the first thing to do, again, this is going to be done by the Porsche dependencies controller. But then now we have to have the NAD go in first before we can do the UPF. So I'm physically doing that, but then you pretend that I'm now becoming like a controller. then now deployment engineers who fill out all the informations has created those packages. He or she would examine this. They would examine this, and then now you would be able to say, oh yeah, that looks good. Let's approve it. So we'll propose the NAD package, or the resource package, if you will. And then I'll also approve it. So when that happens, what you would see, as some of the folks already know, take some time, is the main branch now has the NADs. So inside that, you will see that we have defined 3 NADs. So that goes into the deployment repos, and therefore this guy will pick it up. So 12 seconds ago, actually that's pretty fast compared to going to gig. So now you have all 3 NADs loaded onto the edge clusters. So now, again, this will not be manual by the time we go to the actual, even for November, we definitely have to do something that isn't as manual. But now I have to physically launch the controller. And then for this, the UPF related packages are the next thing to load. So we can now propose the UPF package. And approve it. So this actually was really fast. So now you see the UPF package being loaded onto the deployment repo. So this basically contains the what we call a UPF deployment object, one of the things that we will propose to the community. So that fills up basically, view that as like a cache copy of things, where when it's loaded, this is basically taking the consolidated information of what the management cluster is doing for this particular instance of UPF. And that's enough information for this particular 3.5GC or vendor-specific UPF controller or operators to be able to do something. So deployment is physically done by the controllers, because what we understand from vendors now is most of them are doing the deployment directly on the operators. We would like to change that, obviously, as part of us, part of Nephio. But then for now, let's simulate what's closest to what network function vendors actually have. So if you do a get all -n UPF1, now what you would see is the 3.5GC UPF is now running. And that pertains to a bunch of other things that have been said. One of this is obviously also their initial configurations is also there. of the deployment itself. That's also the actual configuration. So you can see that this matches the IP address and things that we set earlier on UPF. Yeah, right there. And actually, that's it. That's the demo. Let me see, 3 minutes left. So let's go to the next. Can you see the slide?
No. Not yet.
All right, let's do it
See
again.
comments.
Okay. Yeah, I know this is terrible. Next week on SIG 2, using Google Meet would hopefully be better. So hopefully it's a notch. Even a notch is not working. Okay.
Let me see.
No, broke
Yeah,
again.
let me do it again. Yeah, I know. It's just terrible. There you go.
Meanwhile, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So the one thing is so conclusion for TSC is obviously when we launched the project, we promised Google would provide something. So on this, we haven't done this for sure, but then there's a sample of this for demo. There's some controllers that I wrote that I can throw away. I would love SIG 2 yesterday talked about many people would like to participate. I would like to see other controllers coming in and reacting. The operator is 35GC. I guess no one's competing with me on that, so we'll check that in to community. And then also the CLD will iterate, but then this is our proposal at this point. So this is the first step of fulfilling our promise. There's some code that would be doing network function deployments going into the repo soon. Go ahead. So Tal has a question without raising hand, so I'll let him go first.
Sure. Yeah. Excuse me. Just saying, this is great. And the demo that I'm planning for next week is going to be very complementary to this.
Okay,
so
good.
I think things are coming together quite nicely.
Okay, great to hear. On?
Question. I don't know if we want to double click on some of these components here, or should we wait for the automation meeting?
Yeah, I would appreciate
Yeah,
it.
let's wait for the automation.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we are running out of time here, so I would appreciate it. So Stephen, thanks for presenting here. I really appreciate it. So continue the discussion on the SIG automation group and vet out a further discussion there. So what I'm looking for is like a SIG automation group to have a consolidated demo and workshop that can be planned in the ONES summit as we discussed. So with that, any last minute question before we draw?
Sorry. Do you mind sharing this on Slack so we can look at it in detail? The slides?
The
whole
slides
recording
the code I'm going to check in soon, before next Wednesday's meeting. But yeah, slides I can share. Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'll put it.
And the
on
recording should be available as well,
where
and I
nothing
think it will be uploaded into the website.
Yeah, and then the video, of course, is going to be, TSC can announce the video on the Slack channel.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much, and thanks for the presentation, Stephen. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good day.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
about the edge